Hey guys, welcome to Punky's World. Okay, I wanted to talk about um, male and female athletics because we are now at the Olympics. Um, and I'm going to, while I'm editing, watch the women's qualifiers in gymnastics. Now, excuse me, there's so much talk in our society about equal rights and equal equalness between male and female. Um, no. While I believe that we are equal in most things, okay? Equal doesn't mean the same. And I think that's where people, particularly some women, are confused or they get it wrong. You can be equal but different. Now, when I say equal but different, for example, before I go into male and female, culturally, I'm sorry, but I have a different culture than, say, a person of Hispanic heritage. It does not mean, I think, anything less of someone of a Hispanic heritage. It just means that we're different from each other. We're both human beings. We both have feelings. We both should have rights. All of it. But we don't share culture. You know, and in the U.S., they call us a melting pot because initially all of our cultures sort of melded together to create what is American culture. In a way. But in a way, we still each have parts of our cultures that our loved ones came from. To some degree. I mean, obviously, if your loved ones are like my mother's and they came on the freaking Mayflower and the Anne, obviously, then they started this country. But if you're my father's family, we still have a lot of their culture from Ireland in our family. So my Irish culture is going to, and also French, Canadian. So my French Canadian culture and my Irish culture, they marry each other, but I'm going to have that in my family and in the way that we live. Just like if you come from a Hispanic culture, even if you're a second generation American, which I am on my Irish side, you're still going to have a lot of that culture. If you're a Chinese American, you're going to have a lot of that culture. It does not, that's what a melting pot is about. Each of us bring a little bit of our own cultures, mix it all up, and that becomes American. Because there is no such thing as American. But anyway, and it's the same thing with male and female is what I'm getting at. Gymnastics is a great example of this because I was thinking about it. There is a reason that males and females have different apparatus and are of different ages. Male gymnasts tend to be older. They tend to be, mid-20s. Female gymnasts tend to be in their teens. They're mid-teens to very early 20s, whereas the male gymnasts tend to be late teens to mid-20s, mostly early 20s to mid-20s. And that has to do with the way we develop as people. Males are not only less emotionally and mentally mature than females. They mature more slowly mentally and emotionally. They also mature more slowly physically. Because you have to remember, as a female, we stop growing at about the age of 16 physically. Males don't stop growing physically until they're about 21. So, which is done on purpose so that they hopefully will be larger than us. Because they're supposed to be the protectors. They're supposed to be bigger than us. And they're supposed to be stronger than us. That's why male gymnasts do the rings and the parallel bars and the pommel horse, the things that take upper body strength, which is an area that we lack in. Even the strongest woman isn't going to be as strong as the strongest man. She's just not. We do the balance beam. Can you picture even the best male gymnast on a balance beam? He'd look like a big clumsy oaf because they're so big. Their feet are big, their bodies are big. They just wouldn't be able to walk on a balance beam. I'm sorry. They wouldn't have the grace. Or the uneven bars. Okay, they do the even parallel bars. The uneven bars, they're too tall. Every time they spun around on the high bar, their feet would slam into the low bar. Because they're too big. So, and as women, again, we don't do the rings or the pommel horse or the even parallel bars because we don't have the upper body strength to do it. And I know a lot of people are going to argue, sure we do. No, we don't. I'm sorry. We don't. And I think that's so important that we understand as human beings our limitations. You know, we as females for the most part, and I'm not including myself in this because there was a reason my father called me Grace. And it was because I wasn't graceful. Or why he would say very good Clyde when I was clumsy. But there's a reason that females do the balance beam and females do the uneven bars. Has to do with not being as tall. It has to do with having a smaller body frame for the balance beam. That's so important, a narrower body frame. And just overall being graceful. Men just are not naturally as graceful as women should be. I say should be because, again, don't count me in that. Graceful I am not. And I wasn't graceful before this. I'm certainly not graceful now. But, yeah, not good. So I think you can be equal, but different. Like synchronized swimming. There's no men's synchronized swimming, you know. There's no men's rhythmic gymnastics, which is where they do the ribbons and the poles and all that stuff. Because that's just not something men would do. So, and again, in any sport, female longevity is shorter than male longevity. It just is. Because of our bodies. And also because most females, not all, I realize that, most females want to have babies. Now, that doesn't have to be a career ender, as you're seeing in wrestling, and there are a lot of Olympians, female Olympians that come back that have a baby, and then they come back 4 years later and kick butt. But, you know, and there comes a certain point for a woman that her body is more delicate because of hormonal changes. You might see a 50-year-old man doing certain sports or a 40-year-old man doing certain sports, not a woman. Because a 50-year-old woman is now battling menopause, and so her joints and her bones are changing her bones are not as strong, so she can't have as much muscle on them. Things like that. So her career is going to be shorter. You know, that's one of the reasons they start younger. That and their bodies mature, as I said earlier, than boys do. Um, like I said, gymnastics is an excellent example of this. And people can hate me for that if they want. Just be kind in the comments, please. Um, these are my opinions based on scientific fact, but they're my opinions. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that if a man and a woman are up for the same job and they're equal on pretty much all grounds, that they should have an equal opportunity at potentially getting that job, that it should not be down to their gender, which it often is. And I believe if a man and a woman are doing the same job in the same factory or the same plant or the same company, whatever the job may be, that they shouldn't get the same rate of pay, because I do. Because if you're working for the same company doing identical jobs and the only difference is your gender, you should be getting paid the same pay. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying we're equal but different. And I believe that like I said, of our cultures. We're all equal human beings. We all bleed red. We all have feelings that get hurt. We all have love. We all have trouble. All of it. We just have different cultural beliefs around certain areas, whether it be marriage, babies. Your culture, for example, as far as marriage goes, might be that your parents pick your spouse for you. To me, that's horrifying. But to someone in a culture where arranged marriages are part of the deal, it's not. You know what I mean? If your culture is that you cover yourself as a woman, okay. I personally don't and cannot imagine doing that in 90-degree heat. That would be horrendous. You live in the desert and you cover yourself head to foot. I can't imagine living in that heat, having to do that. But it's your everyday life. It's your culture. And that's fine. Respect, I guess what I'm saying is respect other people's cultures. And be okay with our limitations, our differences, our similarities. And that's what the Olympics is there to celebrate. To celebrate our differences, our similarities, to bring people together. Bring peace to war. We need to remember that. And I know I've talked too much, but I think it's important. Like I said, these are my opinions. Based on, in a lot of cases, science. Like the difference between men and women. That's science. The fact is, our bones are smaller and thinner than male bones to begin with. They are not made to hold as much muscle. And our bodies, as females, are made to hold more fat than the male body as well. We need a certain percentage of body fat in order, and pardon me for this if you take offense to medical fact, but we need a certain percentage of body fat on our bodies to be able to menstruate. That's why a lot of elite female athletes do not menstruate. Which isn't necessarily a good thing when they try to go back to where they can menstruate and potentially have a baby. And that's one of the reasons that elite female athletes will wait until after their career is over to have a baby. Because they don't menstruate during their career. And I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying that that's the way the human body works. That's the way the female body works. The male body doesn't work the same way. They can father a child regardless of their level of body fat. A woman isn't built the same way. So, just things to keep in mind. Like I said, our bones are literally smaller, which is why, thinner and narrower, which is why we should not be competing against men. They also naturally can build larger muscles than we can, both because of their level of testosterone versus ours and because of their larger bone structure. So, I don't think women should compete against men. Equal but different. That's why gymnastics is different. That's why men have their apparatus, men have their apparati, and women have their apparati, because they're different. So, so go Team USA. Thank you for listening to me on this Olympic talk. I think it's important. Like I said, be nice in the comments if you do comment. It is scientific fact, a lot of what I'm telling you. So, look it up. God bless you, and I will see you. That's with the window closed. Sheesh. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.